Welcome back to another video. I'm Jen Palco. Today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting, and I'm going to actually give you my experience with it and my opinion on it and the pros and cons, what I've found through doing it. So I have been intermittent fasting for about 9 months now, so it's become kind of a way of life for me. And through this process, through this journey, I found things that I liked about it and things that I didn't like about it. So I'll go through those and just give you kind of my 2 cents on how I feel about it, how I feel on it, and what my experience has been. Because I know intermittent fasting is like the new trend right now, so it's like the new wagon that everybody's jumping on, and some people, they'll do it without knowing a lot about it, or they know a lot about it and they're still hesitant to do it because they think like, oh my God, like I could never fast for that long. So there's also different ways to do it too. So some people will allow like 0 calorie drinks in, or very, very low calorie, like under 5 calorie chewing gum or something like that. And others, nothing but like strictly water while they're fasting. So like I said, I've been doing it for about 9 months now. I can't believe it's actually been that long, but now that I retraced it back, I was like, wow, it's actually been that long. So the pros. What I like about intermittent fasting. Number 1, it saves time. It definitely saves time in the morning, because what I do, I fast for, usually I will fast the night before and I won't eat until lunch the next day, or I'll eat like a late morning snack, which is usually like a rice protein drink or something with cacao powder, something very light, or a piece of fruit, and then I'll have like a larger lunch. Whereas some people, they might move it to a day. So some people do like 10-hour fast, 12-hour fast. I do probably like a 14 to 16-hour fast. So, I go from the night before until pretty much lunch the next day. And it can range anywhere from me having my first meal at like noon, or sometimes it'll be later at 2 p.m. or something like that. So in the beginning, I was more regular with my eating schedule. Lately, I found it a little lax, and I'll get into that. So it saves time. It definitely saves time in the morning because I'm not eating breakfast. So that saves me at least like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it depends how fast you eat. But yeah, at first it was difficult because I was always the type of person, like I need to eat every couple hours. Like I'm always hungry. And that's because I was always feeding myself. So my body is constantly digesting that food, and it got used to it. So our bodies work on a schedule. Our circadian rhythm, is very intertwined to our eating habits. So if we're eating at all different times, then our body clock gets messed up, and we'll be hungry at weird times. So if you keep it consistent, then it gets easier. I'd say the first week or 2 is difficult when you're starting fasting, especially if you are used to eating breakfast in the morning, because you will be hungry. You will be hungry because your body's used to eating at that time. But if you can get over those initial couple weeks, then it becomes a lot easier, and you become where you're not even hungry in the morning. Myself, I use black coffee. I drink my coffee black anyway now, but I use black coffee to suppress my appetite. So usually I'll have a second cup somewhere like in the morning, like 10, 11 o'clock, it depends. But I will have an extra cup of coffee in the morning, and that really cuts down my appetite, and I've found it helpful for me to kind of extend the eating for myself, to extend the fast. The second thing, I used to be preoccupied with food. Like I would think about food all the time. I would think, when is my next meal? I would think, oh my God, I would start freaking out in my head if I didn't have a snack with me, and I knew I was going to be out of the house, and I knew I was going to not eat for longer than like 2 to 4 hours or something like that. I would be like, I need to bring a snack. I need to have something. My blood sugar is going to drop. I'm going to get all crazy and stuff like that. And sometimes, I would get crazy, but I would get physically hungry because my body is used to eating every couple hours. And so what intermittent fasting does, it cuts down on My preoccupation with food. So in the morning, like I don't even think about food because I'm not eating till my larger meal at lunch. And then I'll have, maybe a snack in between lunch and dinner, and then I'll have like a big dinner. So not preoccupied, not thinking about food so much. The third thing, which I just mentioned, is it allows me to have bigger meals. So I like food a lot and I like to eat large meals. That's just me. I like it. I grew up in a family. We like to eat. We're half Italian, so we like large meals and we like large portions. So intermittent fasting has allowed me to eat larger meals and not feel guilty about it, to not feel like I'm overeating, to feel like I can eat a substantial amount of food and still be under my calories. So the other benefit, it allows me to limit my calories in a very, very easy way because, again, I'm not having that breakfast. And instead, I'm having the larger meals because I'm eating in a smaller window of time, like an 8-hour window or something like that. And it's very difficult to overeat on your calories when you're intermittent fasting because you are limited to this little window, and you find after a while that you really can't eat that much more, so it does allow you to eat larger meals, which for me works for me because it's an easy way for me to maintain my calories and not go over my calories. The other pro to fasting for me has been the flexible dieting. So I can not only eat larger meals, but it's more flexible. So I don't have to worry so much about the things I'm eating, where I used to be really, again, preoccupied with food and preoccupied about every little morsel that I was putting in, tracking my calories. I mean, I still track, but I'm not as obsessive about it. Like I said, it allows more flexible eating, and I don't feel deprived. So again, it allows me to not feel deprived, which is a huge benefit because I'm still keeping my calories lower, maintaining my weight or going a little under calories if I want to lose weight, and but I don't feel deprived in any way because I'm eating these larger meals. All right, the last benefit, what I've seen with intermittent fasting is weight loss. So this is the big thing. This is why a lot of people do it, for weight loss. And initially I did see the weight come off of me because, again, it's calories in, calories out. So I was eating below my calorie expenditure, and it was an easy way to shed weight, and I was still, keeping up with my workouts because, again, my body was now used to it and eating at those particular times. So I wasn't hungry all the time. I wasn't preoccupied with food. It allowed me to keep my calories down without feeling deprived and lose a little bit of weight. Now for the cons, the things that I've noticed with intermittent fasting that are maybe not so great for me, or what I've found along the way, maybe not at first, but now down the line. So with the good comes the bad, I always feel. So with weight loss, now I haven't really lost weight. I'm not really trying at this point because the flexible dieting, the flexible eating allowed me to become a little lax with it. So on one of the con sides, on the list of the cons, I became a little too flexible with it, a little too lazy over time. So as of recent, I am really not paying attention to what I'm eating. My eating schedule is no longer at consistent time. So I could eat, it might be like 11 a.m. one day and then 2 o'clock the next day. And that completely throws your body off. So it'd make you not feel so great. So that is what I noticed with intermittent fasting. If you're not careful, then you can because let me just start off by saying, because of the flexible aspect to it and because you don't feel deprived and because you can eat larger meals, at the same time, it can make you become a little lax and you'll stop tracking things, and eventually before you know it, you might be eating a little more and more and more. So for me, what I noticed over time is I started incorporating more snacks in again. Whereas before I was doing fasting, I wasn't really snacking very much. And all of a sudden, when I realized that oh, now I can have like potato chips, or I can have ice cream because it fits into my calorie limit. I was adding more of that stuff in, and it was starting to become a habit for me where I was now eating snacks like every day. So for me, not so great because the food is not the most nutritious for me. And even though you could fit into your calories, it's probably not the most beneficial. So that was one of the negative downsides. And this happened later on, okay? So more recently, not initially. Initially it was fine. It was very easy to do. So this leads me to my next thing. Intermittent fasting, because you can eat larger meals in a smaller window of time. Anybody who has any sort of like eating disorder or disordered eating issues, they have to be very cautious of this. So again, I was incorporating more snacks suddenly, and then I noticed I'm eating more and more and more. I wasn't exactly binging, but I have this mindset from, early on in my life, this pattern of thinking where it's very like black and white. So I found that not only was I getting a little more lazy about it, but I was snacking more and snacking more. And before I know it, like I'm developing very unhealthy eating patterns again. So a little bit of disordered eating creeping back into there, not like crazy, but this is one downside to it, that if you're not careful, because you're eating larger meals, you have to be mindful not to get carried away. So this is especially like women who emotionally eat and stuff like that. Because you're not deprived and because you're under your calorie limit, you may start finding yourself eating a little bit more and more and more of the stuff that's not as nutritious for you. And that is what I found. So I was suddenly found myself eating ice cream, which I normally wouldn't do. I hadn't had ice cream in like a year. And then suddenly I was eating it like a week straight every single night because I'm like, oh, it fits into my calories. So I'm going to eat like a pint of ice cream or something like that. So it started developing a little more of the negative eating behaviors that I had gotten away from in my life by eating better and taking care of myself. So something to definitely watch out for if you are thinking about doing intermittent fasting. At least that was my experience with it. The third negative thing that I found doing intermittent fasting was it was very difficult to get enough vegetables in. So for me, at least it is, because I'm eating in this smaller window and because I'm eating like 2 main meals a day with maybe like 1 or 2 snacks between, it was very hard to get a good number of vegetables in. And previous to this, I didn't eat like abundant amounts of vegetables as it was, but now I'm missing a whole meal. Not that you eat a lot of vegetables with breakfast, because you really don't, but at the same time, like I found that sometimes for lunch, maybe I would have like a breakfasty type lunch because I missed having peanut butter. I love peanut butter. So I missed having like a breakfast in my day. So sometimes I would have like a breakfast for lunch, and that would cut out, a vegetable that I would have with lunch, like a salad or something. And yeah, I just found it a little more difficult to get, 4 to 5 servings of vegetables in, which is hard. If you're eating only 2 meals, it's very difficult. So you have to be mindful of that too, and make sure that you're getting all your nutrients in. Okay, another downside. So I mentioned how I use black coffee to suppress the appetite a little bit. So the negative to this is that I added an extra cup of coffee and caffeine into my day. So usually in the morning, first thing, I have a cup of black coffee, and that was it basically. I might have tea later in the day or something like that, but that was it for my coffee intake. But now suddenly I am drinking a second cup of coffee, not every single day, but most days I do, because I like it. I like the taste of it. I like to drink it, and it suppresses the appetite a little bit. And to me, this is not a great thing, because I am getting that extra caffeine that I really don't need. A lot of times I don't drink it to wake up. I just like it. I like the taste of it. And so, getting that extra dose of caffeine, which I don't really need, that was a negative for me as well. So I would say that is on my con list. So the other thing, not only was I introducing more coffee into my day, but also introducing a little more wine into my night because of this. I can allow it into my calorie expenditure because of this flexible approach to eating and eating in this window. I was like, okay, so I can have red wine every night as long as it fits into my calories. And I'm drinking more frequently. So I actually started drinking a little bit more. And the problem with this is if I am having wine after dinner, then I'm drinking alcohol, and then I am going a long time without eating, with nothing but alcohol in my stomach that my body has to detoxify. And then in the morning, I'm having black coffee. So between the alcohol and the coffee, very acidic in nature. And I don't feel like this is good for me. Not only do I wake up hungrier, because alcohol makes me hungry. I don't know if it makes you guys hungry, but it makes me hungry. And yeah, that's not, if I'm going to bed or if I'm going a long fast, I would rather have food in my stomach. So that's my own fault. That's my own downfall, 100%. But again, something to be mindful of when you have this more where you can eat bigger meals, stay under your calories and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of intermittent fasting, they say, well, eat what you want as long as it's in this window. Just be mindful. If you have alcohol, it's not the most nutritious for you. And it's not necessarily the best thing to have, the only thing to have in your stomach when you're going on this long 12-hour, 14-hour, 16-hour fast. So the last con to intermittent fasting, from my experience, has been a little bit of fatigue, and I found I was getting sick a little more often. Now, I know fasting for a lot of people should do the opposite because it's giving your body the chance to replenish, rejuvenate, and not go through the digestion process so much. But for me, I feel like it was what I was eating, that I was incorporating more snacks, more alcohol, which is definitely an immune suppressant for me. And yeah, so I felt a little more tired, like stiff joints in the morning. And I was getting sick a little more often. So that's just my 2 cents from my experience with intermittent fasting. I am going to keep doing it because it's just become a way of life, and I actually prefer it right now because it does save time. And it's just a matter of getting my mind straight where I am kind of tracking what I'm eating and paying attention to what I'm eating, and not just like throwing snack foods and alcohol and stuff like that just because it's under my calories. Because it's all good and fun for weight loss, but to feel good, you have to be mindful of what types of foods you're eating and make sure you're getting a lot of vitamins and minerals and nutrient-dense foods instead of processed foods for yourself. So that is something that I'm going to work on, but I'm definitely going to continue doing it. I do like it. I do recommend it for anybody trying it out, but just be mindful of the things that I mentioned. And if any of them resonate with you, then hopefully it opens your eyes a little bit before you just kind of jump right into it. But it does get easier, once you get over the first week or two. It does get very easy, and to the point where you're not really hungry in the morning or however you want to do your fast. And I think it's cool. I think it's all good. So hope this was helpful, guys. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel below. Hit the little bell or whatever it's called so you get a notification when I put out my daily videos every morning. And other than that, I hope you all have a great day. So peace.